whether they're an expert or RCMP or me or you, we all have a different view in the Lilly and Jack case. But when it comes to Daniel Martell, he says beyond shadow of a doubt, guaranteed, that they won't find those kids on his property. I have no doubt, because Jeannie owns more than that little 2.5 acres. She owns 7 acres, and his dad, Earl, owns 100 acres. Will the 100-acre woods ever be searched? And how much heads up do they have to give that individual? Can they just show up with a search warrant? Is the RCMP willing to go that far? They seem so hesitant. Waiting so long to bring in the cadaver dogs really has to make you wonder, doesn't it? Now, before we get into that, my lovelies, look at this little boy. Isn't he precious? His name is Darius McDougal. And thanks to our 1111 family, they let me know right away that this child is missing. He went missing on the 21st in Crow's Nest Pass, which is a camping area. And the family were on a walk, and the child got separated somehow. So I am not sure what to think right now, because right off the bat, they're saying they do not want the public's help at all, because they don't want anything contaminated. Now, also, this child has a learning disability. I believe it's something of that nature, and they're not sure how this child's going to respond to people calling out his name. They don't want him to, quote, hunker down. And so I'm going to ask you right now, the best you can do is to spread awareness that his name is Darius McDougal, and he is only 5 years old, and he's by himself. Now, they're saying that the weather is definitely playing in their favor. However, their concern is dehydration, of course. This will have already been, we're on the 23rd of September. So by the time we get to this day, we're looking at 2 days, like 2 full days, 48 hours for a 5-year-old. We're at a pivotal point. He needs your help. I realize I have no sound, and I'm trying to find out why we have no sound on this video. Hold on.
The search for a missing 5-year-old boy continues in the Crow's Nest Pass more than 29 hours since he was last seen. On Sunday, 5-year-old Darius McDougal was hiking with his siblings near Island Lake Campground when he disappeared. Dozens of crews have been...
Y'all, he wasn't even with his mother and father. It's siblings. That's how he got left behind, I bet. Because a parent would have known to keep the child close. So that's very, very worrisome, because that could easily happen if the kids get distracted. They're not parents. So definitely say a prayer. And also be so kind, if you are of faith, and offer up your prayers for Ocean Deep and Rage Not That Rage. Both of our mods are not feeling well and could use your extra love.
Searching since yesterday for the boy who has autism, which may prevent him from responding to others. Our Carson Marsouk has been at the scene all day today and has more.
From the air and on the ground, dozens of search and rescue members, RCMP and conservation officers are searching for 5-year-old Darius McDougal.
Family went out for a walk. Darius was not among the ones that returned. They went back to the site, searched for a good time before calling 911, and search and rescue was deployed immediately.
Searchers responded around 11:30 Sunday morning. RCMP say Darius was walking with family on a road that connects to Tent Mountain and allows camping on Crown land when he got separated. McDougal has autism, and police say that may prevent him from responding to others.
how a 5-year-old boy will react in a specific situation is difficult at the best of times. So we need to keep that in mind. Fortunately for us, we are able to draw upon the provincial resources in Alberta.
The area off of Highway 3 near the Alberta-BC boundary includes steep terrain, with search and rescue focusing on an area about 2 kilometers in.
And there are waterways. So there's little ponds. There's, let me see if I can show you. So you can see there's Island Lake. That's extremely concerning, being that Island Lake campground is literally just feet away from this large body of water. That is so extremely worrisome. It just makes you hold your breath, because water and kids don't mix, in my opinion.
And
we are in a valley, a river valley itself. There are 2 small rivers that are also in play. There's a large bog that we continue to search, and some fairly steep, rugged, forested terrain.
Yeah, you guys are making points on the live audience. Welcome to 1111 True Crime. I'm Mama D. You guys are saying, you know, every kid who is missing has autism. Is this the newest fad? I would love for you guys to become much more aware of how prevalent autism is in our society. It's like extremely common nowadays. So there, you know, it's like, I don't know the statistic, but I know that there's, you know, out of a group of 25 in school, there's usually anywhere from 2 to 7 kids in that class that have learning disabilities, with even a few of them having severe learning disabilities, whether it's autism, Asperger's. There's so many different spectrums of autism. Now, my son has Asperger's, but it's so many people aren't familiar with it. But yeah, the other question I saw go through chat was, who would allow a group of siblings to watch the young one on this walk? Now the question is, was there a teenager that was babysitting age that had skills, and this kid literally got mad and took off running? We don't know. So I can't honestly answer why, but it does beg the question to try and find out more answers. Oh, my screen is frozen, so just give it a minute. Your granddaughter who lives with you is autistic. And see, that's a diagnosis, yes, but like there's so many different types of autism. I hope that this unfreezes so that we can watch it. I wasn't expecting it to freeze. It's never done that before. But it is a long video. I can always restart it if we need to. Maybe it's just patience. And to the one that spoke
Members
about...
from search groups in southwest Alberta, Lethbridge, Foothills and Cochrane have been canvassing the area since Sunday. Police are also using helicopters, drones and dogs to find the missing boy, also searching the water Monday afternoon.
We have not narrowed the scope. We are expanding it as appropriate for our search avenues right now.
Officers and search members will continue their efforts throughout the night.
We are very confident about a positive outcome. The weather is in our favor.
Well, RCMP and Search and Rescue are thanking the public for wanting to help find the young boy. At this time, they are asking people to avoid the area to allow their trained teams to continue their searches. Carson Marsouk, CTV News, Crow's Nest Path.
All right, so I just wanted to make sure and get this little guy out there, and we will be talking about Jack and Lily, of course, right away. And there's a new RCMP update. We have some experts that are sharing information that's sound. And this is somebody that's public safety aware. They're very much suggesting that even though the RCMP aren't telling you that they have a lead and that's why they're bringing the cadaver dogs out, this expert suggesting they are on to something or someone. And I find that interesting. I hope they're correct. Again, let's just get this little guy out there. His name is Darius McDougal. He's only 5. If you're in the Crow's Nest Pass, please contact the RCMP detachment at 403-562-2866. Again, it's the number on your screen there, 403-562-2866. All right, let's talk about this. So this is the latest on the cadaver dogs. And this is right out of Nova Scotia. And we're talking about Lilly and Jack Sullivan. Now, Daniel is the stepdad, is saying, here comes the truth train, that he can guarantee they're not going to find anything with the cadaver dogs on his property at all. And I believe that. I do. But could the RCMP surprise him and show up with a search warrant for, I don't know, his daddy's property, the 100-acre woods, Janie's property, the 7 acres, or her brother's property, which are all sandwiched neatly together in a huge area? And if so, would they grid that off and actually do a thorough job? It would take time, and the problem would be, if they went in there, let's say from the left side and the remains were on the right side, what would prevent someone from going there and moving the remains, right? That would be my biggest concern. So I'm not sure how this is ever going to get resolved, but the expert is claiming, and we'll see that at the very end here, but we're also going to look at some of the things Daniel says in his interview that just kind of like left me going, I got something to say back. Wow, why can we not hear this? Hold on. I didn't put this through a boost system, so we may not be able to hear this.
RCMP are bringing in specialized cadaver dogs to
That's the biggest I can boost it.
who have been missing from their Pictou County home and Lansdowne Station since early May. CTV late anchor Bruce Frisco has been following today's developments. He joins us in the news center. Bruce, considerable pressure now on the police to offer any information on this case, hey?
Right you are, Todd. The force hosting a news conference this afternoon with widespread interest from right across the country. In fact, there are people, as you know, around the world who've been watching the case with keen interest, posting about it on social media. They're making YouTube videos. As you mentioned, 6-year-old Lilly, 4-year-old Jack Sullivan reported missing May 2nd from their trailer home in Lansdowne Station, which is a very rural area. The search effort, especially in those early days, was extensive. Hundreds of volunteers and experts combed and then recombed kilometers around the family home. And you may recall police dogs were part of those searches. What's changed now is the introduction of cadaver dogs. Simply put, they are specially trained to pick up on the scent of decomposing human remains, and they're generally very successful at finding it, whether it's underground, in water, or even ashes. The success rate is quite remarkable.
In Nova Scotia, back in 2017, there was a research study conducted with the medical examiner's office and the RCMP. This is kind of the building blocks of the human remains detection program for the RCMP. And when they did their study, I believe it was published in 2017, and their status for the training exercises was a 94% success rate.
I think I'd be very confident if we can get our dogs in the right area.
If they can get their dogs in the right area. I know it's a very low recording. I am so sorry. I did not boost it. I'm sorry, Maggie. Your volume's fine, Jenny. Volume low, Kim. I know it's a low volume. You can hear it just low. It's low. But what he's basically saying is They have a night, so the RCMP got together with the Cadaver dogs and did in 2017 a training and or a test, and the audit came out at the dogs being 97% accurate. And Sergeant Dave Willen here is suggesting they have to get the dogs in the right area for them to be successful. Now that sounds basic, that sounds, matter of fact, but the truth is they are continuing to search this little circle around that trailer. And I don't know if they just assume that that's a nod towards, well, we looked and we couldn't find, or if they literally are onto this idea that the children are still within that small area. I personally do not believe the children are right in that area. The family owns much, much more property. But yeah, I know the volume's low. Sorry, guys.
That our dogs, even if it's been a hot, dry summer, that should be fine for us.
So what he said is it's been a hot, dry summer, and that should help the Cadaver dogs because it's not got a lot of moisture to disintegrate that scent. So yeah, they've already searched under Jamie's trailer 3 times. They've searched under Daniel's trailer. They even used drones. And they've looked. But I wonder if they'll take the Cadaver dogs under there. Makes you wonder. Hey, Broken Gothel, how are you? Mary Dalmatians, good to see you. Good to see you, Carla. Hi, Countryside. All right, you guys, let's get into this next thing. So here's Daniel. Here's what he has to say.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there?
Okay, now that just blew my eardrums, so give me a minute to adjust our settings back down, because whoa, baby, that was loud.
And won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything.
So what do you make of the fact that they are bringing the Cadaver dogs in?
Well, I'm actually pretty happy about that because it's been about 3 months I've been asking for them, and it's just been delayed I guess till now, but I know things take time and dogs are hard to get.
So what does this say to you? Because I mean, they are dogs searching for human remains.
Well, I know that it's going to be really hard work now that there's so much vegetation in the woods, but I'm pretty happy that they're going to be able to do it. I even hope that they bring more than one dog if they have access to them.
He's pretty happy they're going to be able to do it. All right, I'm not trying to pick at you, Daniel, but you're just so easy to read through. Yeah, he wants the Cadaver dogs brought around his trailer so that they can rule out that the kids aren't there. But if these kids came to ill harm, accidental or otherwise, do any of you believe that they're going to leave the children right there on the property? I mean, we were told that there was a 5-speed that came in and out of that property 5 or 6 times throughout the night, that Daniel never slept. There was no food missing, so these kids didn't eat. Their coats weren't missing. It's almost, think about it. If these kids really went missing on a cold and wet morning, just like I said yesterday, their coats would be missing. If they were planning to go to school, they probably would have grabbed some food. They've eaten every other day. Why was the slider closed? All these questions suggest that we're looking at possibly a much earlier time frame when you wouldn't have thought to bring a coat because it wasn't that cold or rainy yet. Because they weren't there for the breakfast time, and that's why no food is missing. Jack's backpack isn't missing, but Lily's is. If it was morning and they were headed off to school or they're going in the woods to play, why wouldn't both backpacks be gone? But instead, it's like Jack didn't need his backpack. I don't know. I'll let you figure out what Daniel's getting at when he says he guarantees.
So what are you happy about? What do you hope this will bring?
I would just like to see maybe the social media speculation theories and accusations, maybe they're not going to stop, but slow down, because at this point they're getting ridiculous.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything.
He knows for 100%. So if you lose something, can you guarantee that you didn't, like, if you were at your house and you lost your keys and you didn't know where they are, can you give me 100% certainty that they're not at your house? I mean, that's where you were when they were last there. Now, Daniel's going to go ahead and try to explain this away, saying, well, I know Malaya didn't do anything, I know Janie didn't do anything, and I didn't do anything, so therefore, they're not here. Yes, but Daniel, remember, if you were open-minded to really think about the situation and didn't already have your own answers, you forgot the narrative that the children wandered off on their own, which means they could be somewhere and they could have made it further than the area the searchers are saying if they took the road and then went off in the woods. You know, nobody's thought about that. What if these kids actually headed out, began to walk to school, something frightened them, and they ran off in the woods, and then they got lost? So they could be much further if they took the road for quite a while. Now, you might say, well, somebody would have seen them. If they went 15 minutes on the road first and then went in the woods, not necessarily. That's just my thinking. Oh, and it froze again. I have no idea why it's freezing. I agree, Susan. No mother leaves a place where her children are missing unless her children, I'll continue that.
Probably why they
missing.
waited this long to do it. It's just to keep the public informed, I guess.
So he's suggesting that the RCMP are basically just trying to appease the entire audience that's paying attention and trying to find these kids and spread awareness, that we're just being appeased. I think, Daniel, I don't know. What do you feel? Do you feel that the RCMP knows something? Let me know what you think. Do you think they're on a lead? I mean, why wait all this time for cadaver dogs? I don't buy this whole thing. We're going to get into, you know, that scenario. I feel that it's quite possible that they actually have a lead. I hope they show up with a surprise search warrant for another property, and I think it's key as to where they use those dogs.
That they're hard at work.
Do you think it will rule things out?
Yeah, I think we'll rule a lot of things out. We'll rule out that the RCMP are, you know, working hard, and there's no human remains on the property.
It'll rule out that the RCMP are working hard, so they're not. He don't make no sense. Yeah, he wants those cadaver dogs because he wants this case shut down. He wants this story over. And he's going to tell you that. He wants this closed. He wants this to be a cold case. And so, yeah, he wants those cadaver dogs brought into his property because he knows doggone well, as he told you, he can guarantee it. And he said that with extreme confidence because we all know if there was an individual on the property that is responsible for the disappearance of these children, they're not going to be left on that property. And so they are indeed not going to find anything. Now, there is rumors that they've already brought the dogs in and searched the cadaver dogs in and searched the Martell property yesterday, but I have nothing confirmed. But I'm in the U.S., so I get the news last. But if you hear something, let me know.
Is there any piece of you that's preparing for the fact, like, what if they do find something?
No, because I didn't do anything. I know Malaya didn't do anything. I know my mother didn't do anything.
Yeah. What if the kids just left? I mean, how does he think they got abducted from his own trailer? The kids' coats aren't missing. The food isn't missing. it would have to be that he is absolutely locked in on this idea that Malaya removed those kids. And it makes you wonder if it's half true, right? So, yeah, we will be doing a crime story video now, or a crime story, I can't talk today, a crime story live, Crime Story Mama live after this, absolutely. Mike says the footprint in evidence in fresh dirt grandma just raked night before. Big kids left print, my guess. Tell me someone caught them leaving or was waiting or watching for next opportunity after bus. Interesting thought, interesting thought.
Those are 3 people on the property. I mean, after the polygraph exams, they should have known right there. We didn't kill any of the kids, or we didn't kill the kids.
That's so weird the way he said that. Let me back it up.
Those are 3 people on the property. I mean, after the polygraph exams, they should have known right there. We didn't kill any of the kids, or we didn't kill the kids.
Why do you think that they're not possibly, like, why that they didn't possibly wander into the woods?
Well, with the amount of resources that were used, and I mean, for everything from drones to helicopters to classified technology and all the searchers on the ground. I mean, searchers on bicycles, they did everything. On the pipeline, they took in ATVs and Argos and side-by-sides. They used everything they could.
Tell me about, what do you make at this point of the investigation of what RCMP have been doing or not doing? What's your stance on all of that?
Well, I would like to go in for another whole round of polygraph exams. I mean, that would be, and maybe bring some new people in that are doing the polygraph exams.
How about you get your mom tested? Seeing as you want everybody polygraphed, how about Janie get a polygraph? Oh, I can't. I got a heart condition. I'm not making fun of a heart condition. I'm just saying how convenient. The one that I suspect is lying right along with Daniel, in my humble opinion, can't take a polygraph. But Daniel's out here. I'd like to get more people on a polygraph. Who? Who would you like? You've already had your brother. Your mother won't do it. Did Justin do it? Never heard. You know what I'm saying?
But I know they're hard at work. I've filled notebooks with just trying to help.
With bullcrap. I fill notebooks with just absolute bullcrap. So Kim French is saying that the DTS show, you know, the Drunk Turkey show, talked to Daniel and Janie live after the cadaver dogs searched the area. I've heard that too, and they said nothing was found there. But that doesn't mean that's the only place that the cadaver dogs are going to be used. And we do have the expert that was sharing, that you could barely hear, that was saying that they'll return. They'll come back to different areas now that they've got the dogs. And I feel that they own so much land, they probably went to the furthest reaches. They're certainly not going to put them right in their nest egg, right? They're not going to put the remains right under their own feet.
Them find leads or give them any kind of small detail, answer as many questions as I can, or, you know, but I'm doing everything I can. I usually try to meet with them 3 times a week, and sometimes they're not around for that, or phone calls or texts, but whatever we can do.
So we have someone suggesting you have to be extremely smart to pass a poly when one is guilty. Actually, it's not about intelligence. It's about your psychology. So if you have schizophrenia or you have any diagnosis where you've disconnected from your emotions, you might be dumb as a box of rocks, but you can still, you know, pass a polygraph. Now, Ted Bundy passed a polygraph. We hear that all the time from all kinds of people. And it's true. But polygraphs aren't admissible into court. We also know that. And so Why not? Well, because you can get false positives, you can get false negatives. They're unreliable. And so therefore, it's more or less just if somebody is unwilling to take them, it draws a question in, like, you know, whether or not they have motive to avoid it.
So I guess to bring it back to the cadaver dogs, since you've been asking for it for so long, I guess, you don't have any information on how that will happen?
No, I don't. I don't even know where quite they're going to start searching or where they're going to do. Are they going to expand out onto the properties? The property there is fairly small. It's only 2 acres. So.
Yeah, he doesn't bring up the other 7 acres or the other 100-acre wood or his uncle's property. They're all nested together, right? You know, remember where the little blankets found and the water bottle, the blanket of lilies? Remember where right near there all the little clumps of boot prints were there, and one little boot print that had the size that matched Lily's? All that right there is all right there at Jamie and Earl and her brother's properties, Daniel's parents. And if you've ever seen the way Daniel's dad, Earl, reacted to Tent, who was using his vehicle, driving around, just trying to see if he could see anything about the kids. He was on a public road, and he got near Daniel's dad's property. That was a heated exchange. And you could tell that this is a man that doesn't want nobody snooping around his property, period, no matter who you be. So he's obviously very protective, not only of the property, but as of Daniel and Justin, and even probably, I believe, Jamie. And then if you look at Jamie, she's so defensive, she's barking at everybody. I mean, she's literally, ba, 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 ba. And you're like, please, I can't hear your voice another second.
Yeah. Will it be the whole 8.5 that they searched previously?
I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot. That would be quite a few. That'd be a couple weeks probably on foot doing that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at the documents, and you know some of the other stuff RCMP has said or done, there's 70,000 drone photos that were taken during the search. That's a lot of photos. I mean, they had to review and do everything.
Okay, sure. But if you looked at the drone photos, you see the tops of tree canopies. I mean, we could be having a birthday party out there with 60 people, and that drone's not going to do much when they have a thick, heavy green canopy. So I don't care if it's 70,000 or 70 billion pictures. That doesn't mean anything as in ruling out if the children are there. It's basically just on a mere chance that the children were to pass a clearing at the time that the drone is there. So it's not like if you don't see it with the drone, then that area can be, checked off and cleared. I do feel strongly that there is reason to continue to have question, or at least for me, I continue to have a lot of questions around Daniel and Janie, Earl, and Justin. Those are the ones that I'm looking at going, and even Janie's brother because of the call, a lot of communication in the morning, and he owns a great deal of property as well. And so, I mean, this turns out to be like a quadruple threat, if you will, when it comes to like Summer Wells. We had one property. That was difficult enough. But they had a huge amount of woods. They owned acre after acre, and it's just so hard to search that. But when you get to Jack and Lily, we've got not one little 5-year-old, but we have a 4 and a 6-year-old missing. So there's the double right there where you're like, oh, double whammy. And then we have this little 2.5 acres, look over here, looky loo. But what's really going on is we've got, if you add it all up, there's like 150 acres that are all attached between the in-laws and Janie over there. And is that being searched or noticed at all? I don't know. I haven't heard a thing about it.
So they would have found some kind of something there. Or even when they brought in classified technology, they scanned the whole area. They ever found a beaver and a coyote. That's all they found.
So why do you think this step is necessary?
Well, it just rules out one and brings the book a little bit closer to being closed. I mean, one chapter at a time.
How have you been doing?
Well, I'm not going to say I'm doing well, but doing better than I was at the start, I guess.
Well, it's so nice to know you improved. Wow. Okay. It's more hopeless than ever because we're on 4 months and these are 4 and 6-year-old children. And if they were in the woods, there's just no chance at this point. We are on recovery. But yet Daniel already feels better because time's passed, right?
It's physically exhausting, mentally exhausting, emotionally exhausting, but every day you wake up and it's a new day. New hope. And just keep going forward.
Tell me about the toll, like what you were just mentioning earlier about social media.
Yeah, social media has been quite a circus, we'll call it.
That's because you're the ringmaster, Daniel. You're the ringmaster. You're the one, and Janie, you come into areas and you come in and say something completely different every time you talk. Every time you open your mouth, we get a completely different narrative. And, you leak out little pieces of information and that throw us for a loop. You don't go back and revisit anything. You just keep adding little pieces of the narrative. Like, what happened to the 2 sweaters? You don't talk about those anymore. That you say that Malaya's family took when you went to the RCMP. When it comes to the blanket, you saying it wasn't Lily's when it absolutely was. And that is really strongly going to upset the mother, right? Your children are missing. And it's your child's blanket, and the stepdad saying, nope, that's not Lily's, when it really is. And she left, right? But we all kind of had this gut feeling that, if you do the Mother Nature math, right? The Mother Nature math meaning instinctual things mothers do, and that is they do not leave behind the location where their children went missing. Even in the animal kingdom, you've ever seen, if you have deer in your area, there'll be a mother doe lingering at the side of the road. And you're like, what's going on? Why aren't you leaving? Hurry up and go. You better have foresight enough to slow down, because if she's lingering and seeming agitated, she's waiting on her babies, because she ain't going to leave without them. And yet, Malaya did. Malaya went against the natural order of life. I have a female cardinal right out my window. That to me just confirms truth. And for her to have released that natural hold and concern for your children and have left, it would lead one to consider she has a resolve within her, a complete resolve. She knows the truth, and they're not associated with that property, or she wouldn't have left it. That's my opinion, though.
But I can't control them, and they're free to judge, but maybe just use a little bit of this before they start typing or use an AI for pictures.
I mean, we're coming up on...
Oh, let me grab this. Does he mean that picture? Remember when we did that? And then somebody asked me to compare? That's what he's talking about. Sorry, guys. I had to do it. Let's speed him up. He doesn't say anything new. Other than, let me see, where's that part?
Every facial expression. They analyze everything right down to a T. I know that.
What would you like the public to know?
I want the public to know if anyone has any information, just please come forward. Call the RCMP, call your local police department, call Crime Stoppers.
Do you still think they're still alive?
Yes, I I hope so.
Did anybody notice that Daniel's getting gray hair? That's what happens when, you know, you worry yourself sick because you're trying to control a narrative. And Daniel, if you'd like the circus to stop, you gotta quit putting the tent up. All right, you guys, let's get into this guy.
Despite hundreds of tips, dozens of interviews, their disappearance remains unsolved, and a sense of unease currently hangs over the community. For more on where the investigation is right now, I'm joined by CTV public safety analyst Chris Lewis. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Lindsay.
This is the guy that he thinks the RCMP actually have a lead and knows something specific or knows someone. Oh, my water bottle just popped. But yeah, he's very, very certain in his opinion. Now, Daniel knows beyond a shadow's doubt that those kids aren't going to be found on his property. I agree with him. I think the kids were taken somewhere else. But this guy, he seems to believe beyond a shadow of a doubt they have a lead. He thinks that there's something to this. Now, if all they did is take those dogs over and visit that little 2.5 acres, that might be because they're ruling that out first. But that doesn't mean that they're not bringing the dogs back to other locations. And you just never know. Maybe the RCMP will just surprise us all with a search warrant for the 100-acre woods.
So, Chris, I want to start by saying we did reach out to Nova Scotia's RCMP about this investigation. This is what they told us. Quote, the RCMP's investigation into Lilly and Jack Sullivan's disappearance is a very active, intensive investigation. We are continuing to engage every resource available to help locate Lilly and Jack and determine the circumstances of their disappearance. So I want to ask you about that. What do we know about what police have gathered so far?
Well, there's a lot we don't know, and nor should we, given that when they're conducting a criminal investigation, they're not alerting the public to every piece of evidence they find or, the different interviews they've conducted or different suspects they might have, because that will hurt the investigation and ultimately, potentially, a trial at some point. But they have done a very extensive job. You know, we all know they searched for days around the house where they went missing. They did subsequent searches. They searched other areas. They gathered, I believe, 8,000 different videotapes from area homes and businesses, trying to see if they could see the kids in them. There's been lots of interviews following hundreds of tips. They've conducted polygraph examinations. And just by their statement that this is still an intensive investigation, they're investigating something or someone. Because it gets to the point where you may not have any more interviews to do and suddenly get a tip and you are. But the way they've described it, I would say they're not just coming into work every day and hoping to get a tip. They're investigating something.
When you say that you believe that they're investigating something or someone, what's the language that they're using that makes you think that?
It's just that the way they talk about it still being an intensive investigation. That tells me something. They're following up something. And when you get the hundreds and hundreds of tips that they've received, there's a lot of work to that, because finding certain people at times is difficult, or some of the tips have resulted in them going to other places to search.
That's the key. And that's about all that guy's going to tell us. So before we wrap it up real quick, I do want to say, please get little Darius McDougal out there and speak prayers for him. He's only 5 years old. He just went missing on the 21st of September. He's only about 4 foot tall. Probably, if I had to guess, I'd say about 45 pounds, 40 pounds. But he went missing in Crow's Nest. And that's Crime Stoppers. You can call if you know anything at all. He was with his siblings at the campground there. And the number for that is 403-562-2866. And I would hope that you would help to get his name out there. When it comes to Lilly and Jack, you guys, the truth of the matter is that Daniel's awful confident for, think about it. You're at your house, your keys go missing. How can you be confident where your keys are not? You could have looked your whole house over, but are you 100% sure you checked everywhere That's just your house. These are children, and they're missing. In the woods, most likely, is what's being told by the RCMP. That's why they're searching. And Daniel's saying, nuh-uh, I guarantee you ain't gonna find nothing. And he's even quit looking. Why? How could you ever give up looking for your own stepchildren? Unless you just wanted to close the book and make it a cold case so you could move on. I don't know, it really kind of, to me, showed the, like, out in the real world here, it shows the shadow side of Daniel when he's saying, I just want it to be done, over. I thought you wanted to look for the kids for the rest of your life. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on this live and for replay. My catch-up crew is incredible, and I love you all so very much. Hit that like button, and if you love me so much, I greatly appreciate if you hit the hype button, and of course, subscribe. I always appreciate all of you. Love you to the moon and back.